Mike Anderson has addressed meetings like this all around the state. The subject, land rights. The question, what will the state government's proposed legislation do for Aboriginals? According to Mike Anderson, the legislation is a step backwards, transferring the assets of the independent Aboriginal Land Trust to government departments. He also claimed that the 40-year investment plan contained in the legislation was poor compensation for the dispossession and murder of Aborigines last century, pointing out that technically Aborigines are still at war with Britain because they've never signed a peace treaty. He says what's now proposed by the state government is entirely unsatisfactory.
It is said that when they abolish the Aboriginal Land Trust, all of the land that they have and the assets will go to the Aboriginal communities. However, there have been some questions relevant questions in respect to the assets, which amount to something like about $75 million held in trust for Aboriginal people by the Aboriginal Land Trust. When they ask where are those assets going to be, and they mainly consist of housing, then there's no real firm answer by the Ministry or the Minister for Aboriginal Affairs.
Do you have any alternative proposal which you feel would work, which would give Aboriginal people real land rights?
Oh yes, we look at maintaining the Aboriginal Lands Trust, or at least looking at that organisation being independent from the normal government procedures, and that we will keep that organisation intact but restructure it and more money be pushed into it, so that Aboriginal people will then have a greater control.
Despite the bleak economic prospects for 1983, there were large crowds at most of the major shopping centres today. There's the ham and turkey to be ordered, along with the Christmas cards to be sent to family and friends. And of course, there's the tree and the decorations, so much a part of the Christmas scene. Most stores are now stocking up for what they hope will once again prove to be their busiest trading period of the year.
Well, at the moment it isn't a busy Christmas, but there's still 21 days to go, and I think Christmas has always been a good trading period, so I think it'll still work out fairly good.
Mr. Scott also says there will be no extra trading nights leading up to Christmas this year. But one familiar character made his first appearance for the season in Newcastle today, Father Christmas, or Santa Claus, and by the looks on the children's faces, his popularity is as high as ever.
another week with overflowing bins. The Lake Council's outdoor staff have been on strike for more than a week. That means no garbage collections or roadworks until further notice. The dispute between a member of the wages staff and a member of the salaried staff is to go before the Conciliation Commission at a date yet to be set. However, before the issue is resolved, it's likely that Lake residents may be making at least a few more visits to the dump.
chorus of carols. Last night, hundreds of people attended the 9th annual Festival of Carols at Garden City, organised by the Catholic, Anglican, Baptist and Uniting Churches of Tyre. Members of the Salvation Army and 4 school choirs from the area entertained the crowds with such stirring carols as We Three Kings and Joy to the World.
Trains came to a halt on Monday night after a driver was dismissed when he refused to take out the flyer without a brake inspection. The confrontation was discussed by loco drivers and observers at drawn-out meetings yesterday and again today. Finally, the men resolved to return to work after the dismissed driver was reinstated.
Nobody in that office.
More industrial travel ahead
If you call
because
away
of
from
clean
public time, don't be
SRA
frightened to ring that departmental number, whether it be
threat to trains at this stage in regard to this dispute. But there's a number of matters concerning the closure of certain locomotive depots, the removal of train drivers out of some other depots due to the downturn in freight and the effect the drought has on the current wheat harvest, and also the traditional manning practices on trains where they wish to reduce the train crew from 3 to 2 men.
And you don't think those changes will be acceptable?
Our members, we have been on a state tour and overwhelmingly have supported industrial action to retain traditional work practices by locomotive enginemen.
And that's McCosker's 50 against England.
The Meat Workers Union delegate, Mr Murray Bennett, says the men are prepared to move to an alternative site, but that they intend to run the new concern themselves.
Well, we had a meeting this morning. We formed our company of the workers up there. It hopefully will be registered tomorrow. We hope to be able to retain the present works at the moment and kill up there until a new facility is available for us.
So the workers intend to stay there even after the 31st of December deadline?
Hopefully, yes, if we can get permission from Kearns. If not, we'll just have to play it by ear and go up there and have a work in. We'll start work every day and kill what's available and take it from there.
Are you expecting any trouble?
Well, we don't know. Hopefully not.
The chairman of the hospital board, Mr Mullane, says the money will be used to purchase equipment and provide a general purpose room. But it's far from enough to upgrade the department to the required level. A great deal of money is still needed.
To bring the department up to a really top class standard, we'd be talking probably about $2 million. Yesterday we were talking in terms of $350,000 now, and that'll be spent before the 30th of June. And we're also talking about another $750,000 for angiography equipment, which we're hopeful we'll be able to get in the next financial year, commencing 1st of July.
How hopeful? Now that is what you really have to get in the department so that you can attract these staff members back.
The angiography equipment is particularly important because it's the only unit of its type serving the whole region, the Hunter Valley. And there's none in private practice or in public hospitals, so we're concerned to get that underway.
Meanwhile, there was a special presentation at the hospital today. A portrait in honour of the late Dr Samuel Gardner was presented to the library, situated in the Clinical Sciences building. The library has been named after Dr Gardner, who was a senior surgeon at the hospital. There to witness the presentation, organised by the Pink Ladies, was Dr Gardner's wife. The Hunter Tourist Association is concerned about NRMA figures which indicate people are taking shorter, less expensive holidays. At resorts such as Port Stephens, there is still accommodation available, which is unusual for this time of year. Promoters are hoping there'll be a late rush.
We're holding back some of our promotion till next week because we know people are making their decisions at the very last minute. They're finally realising that the end of the world isn't going to happen.
And do you think that they'll make that final decision and will pick up on some of the trade that perhaps has been delayed?
Well, if it doesn't, we're certainly going to lose many millions of dollars in this region if it isn't, because it's particularly on retailers that they're going to feel it, not only the accommodation and restaurant trade.
Dense black smoke that towered some 500 metres raised fears that a major disaster had occurred at Waii. But the source of the smoke was a fire which swept through a tyre dump in bushland well clear of any buildings. Sparks from rubbish burning in a pit apparently caught leaves inside one old tyre. In a matter of minutes, hundreds more were on fire and the blaze was out of control. The heat from the burning rubber was so intense that rows of tyres 10 metres apart burst into flames. 9 bushfire brigade units fought the blaze, but all they could do was try to prevent the fire spreading further. The tyre dump is run by the Harold and for 3 years has provided tyre companies with a means of getting rid of unwanted used tyres. Mr Anning in turn supplies retread companies with usable tyres. He said today he watched at least $60,000 worth of these go up in smoke.
We're looking forward to the future with Amalgamation to providing courses at postgraduate master's degree level, and plans are already underway for that to happen. The second main area is in the field of pre-service teacher education, And I think the biggest job we have in the school is to educate the community that the current advice they're getting of oversupply in teaching is only true in certain areas, and that we have a large demand for teachers in fields such as science, mathematics, industrial arts, some areas of art and music, languages, where we indeed need to increase our intakes so that in the future we won't have or suffer a shortage of teachers in those particular fields.
We're looking to complete, I suppose, a Tyre establishment next year when we introduce a Masters in Visual Arts. That's been very well supported, and we will push that very hard in 1983, and at the same time go very firmly then into the performing arts side.
Do you feel you're going to be limited by the forthcoming amalgamation?
Basically, no. When the dust settles, when the legislation is drawn up, I think it will be to advantage.